Dakota's pushing it to 5. They win set number 4, 25-23.
Hey Coyote fans, welcome into the Coyote Volleyball Show presented by Scooters Coffee. It is the final week of the regular season for South Dakota, and the Coyotes have been rolling as of late. We're joined now by the head coach of the Coyotes, Leanne Williamson. Coach, coming off of a couple of sweeps this week at home, and 5 of the last 6 have been sweeps for your team, 4 straight. This team seems to have really found a gear here at the end of the regular season.
Yeah, I think we've been talking about the progress of the team throughout the entire season, and I feel like just these last couple of weeks, I think things are starting to come together more for us, just a little bit more consistent across the board, and honestly, I think we have more different areas of our team playing well at the same time. So we've been able to win games in a lot of different ways over the course of the season, whether it's been offensive, defensive, serve and pass, maybe our middles or our outsides kind of taking charge, and I feel like right now we've kind of got everybody moving in that same direction, which is really nice to see. Or maybe we've listened to our fans and we tried to help them out, not having to watch 5 sets every time we play. But either way, I feel like we're in a good spot, and I do feel like we've done some really good things here in these last couple weeks.
You look at this past week here at home and obviously a couple of sweep victories. What impressed you the most about your team during those performances?
I mean, especially looking at this weekend, I just think we played a complete game. You know, I think the serve and pass aspect of the game, I think we were pretty consistent. I think we had 9 aces on Thursday, 8 aces on Saturday, and in a 3-set win, I mean, that's a really good number for us. I feel like passing, we just continue to get more and more confident, which allows, you know, our setters to run the offense the way we want to. So I just think we look disciplined right now. We were really scrappy defensively too, which is good, and something that we've thought could help us a lot throughout the season, and I just feel like right now it's looking the best it has up to this point. So I think just overall I've just been impressed with the team mentality. You know, the fact that it's an entire team win, we've needed everybody in order to find ways to win there, but you know, the consistent aspect of it is definitely something that you want to see right now as a coach leading in here to the end of the season.
It feels like the trio of Kylan Seelock, Madison Harms, and Bryn Palman have really come together. They're kind of the leaders right now when you're talking about a Coyote attack.
Yeah, I mean, our middles especially have been kind of a consistent force for us here, and really the second half of the season. And, you know, Kylan was struggling there for a little bit, but I think this last week she really kind of found herself again. And I just think as she gets more confident, it's a scary combination when you have the 3 of them doing that high-level volleyball. But I do think the more our middles are having success, the more open some of our pins are, you know, and the more our outsides can have success, the more it opens up our middle. So it kind of goes back and forth. And, you know, our setter, I think Avery's been doing a good job of using the blocking schemes, using kind of what's working at that time, but really finding the right person in the right moment in order to help them have success just because we found a good look for them.
When you look at this team, and obviously throughout the season you've had some adjusting of the lineup and rotations and some of that, do you feel like it's settled into a spot, or does it kind of depend on maybe the matchup?
Yeah, I mean, I think we feel like we've probably settled into a little bit of a starting lineup, but that does not mean that we are not afraid to use our depth. And I think even, you know, going into practice this last week and a half, this is a tough part of the season, and I actually think we've had some of our better practices, you know, since maybe the beginning of October. So that's really good to see, and I think it says a lot about the depth within our program still. And so if we need to make changes, you know, we're not afraid to make changes, but I do think that we at least feel like we know where we're going to start, and then we make adjustments from there.
People like to talk about the heart of a team, the character of a team. How would you describe the character of this team? It got off to a slow start in Summit League play. You guys kept at it. You knew that you had something special here, and it just had to continue to click together. And right now, this team has been playing awful well. How would you describe the character of this group?
I think resilience is a big word that I would use, and partly because I don't think the start was easy. I think that there were some times where I think both coaches and players probably started questioning a little bit. Like, what are we doing wrong? What do we have to change? And obviously, you're constantly trying to figure out what's next for your team. But I think there was some stress there. And I think just as we continued through, especially after losing those first two in conference, like that was kind of a gut check time. And we knew that we were going to continue to get better. And I think as a coaching staff at that point in time in the season, we were very confident of the team that we could be. But we had to continue to get the team to buy into that. But to be able to still dig deep and to be able to stay as committed as they were, I think that resilience plays a really big role. And, now seeing what they've gone through, all the 5 sets, both wins and losses, the travel obviously throughout the season, and just some things that came up throughout the year. I think resilience is probably the first word that comes to mind. And, it's easier, at least now, when you see things paying off a little bit more and seeing us play at actually probably one of the highest levels that we have all season. It's easy to look back and say it was worth it. But I think it's such a great lesson for this program as a whole as we continue to move forward, even beyond this year, of there's never this point where you can give up. It's constantly just trying to fight through the struggle, at times. So, I would say resilience is probably one of the biggest things right now.
I know you're always looking at things to improve on, and there's always going to be improvements in the minds of successful coaches. But when you look at this team to this point, what has been the most important improvement that they've made throughout the season that has allowed them to, we're always talking about let's be playing our best as we go to the conference tournament. They're close to that, it feels like right now. What's been the most important improvement?
Oh, that's a tough question. I would say in some ways our defensive scheme, the defensive aspect of our team, and one of our goals has always been to keep people hitting below their season average. And we've done that actually at a pretty high rate. And right now we actually lead the league in opponent hitting percentage. And I think that says something about what our defense has been able to do. And partly I say that because I think our offense needed some time to work through some things, whether it was the fact that we had a freshman setter, whether it was the fact that we had different people coming in and out throughout the game. Obviously ended up with another freshman on the outside. But I think our defense being fairly steady for us throughout the year and continuing to get better allowed our offense the time it needed to develop itself. So I think I would say that the defensive aspect of things, but I mean, there's probably 3 or 4 other things I could mention as well that I think have been important to our success.
No question. Well, the Coyotes are set to wrap up the regular season. When we come back, we'll talk about the regular season finale and a quick look ahead at the upcoming Summit League tournament. That's on the way. This is the Coyote Volleyball Show, presented by Scooters Coffee.
The Coyote Volleyball Show is brought to you by Scooters Coffee. Scooters Coffee. Amazing drinks, amazing people, amazingly fast.
Back to the service line once again. Serving on the left side, pushes it over. Rivas gets it that time. Bye-bye. Freeman blocked by Lotion and Palman. We're going to give it right back to Freeman. Tipped at the net. Seelock pops it up. Great effort. Ferris setting up the freshman. She gets it. Samantha Lair puts it on the back line. The Coyotes up by 4 here in set 1. Palman hits the antenna. Refs do not call it. Kill it then from De Jesus. No. Johnson. Van Hook. Running Palman once again off and out of play. Point for the Coyotes. They lead at 13-5 now. Laura Peterson to serve. Leanne Williamson just making sure her substitutions are correct. Peterson, right pin side. Up and over. And that's gonna do it. The ace queen gets it done as the Coyotes sweep the Oral Roberts Golden Eagles once again, 25-2. Johnson, kill it from Jansen, no good. Seelock there. Van Hook decides to turn and burn it to Bowling. John Doe with the dig. Schramm up the middle for Harms, blocked by NDSU, but guess what? Lands on the up and over. Up by Schmalm. Kill attempt from Kinsey. Solo dolo there from Amanda Lotion, and that ends set. Tip. Diedrich. Lotion. John Doe gonna put it over Quan. Johnson, right side to Hinsey once again. Schramm. John Doe setting it up for Diedrich. And that one's out of play! Waiting to see point for the Coyotes, and that is...
The Coyote Volleyball Show is brought to you by Scooters Coffee. Scooters Coffee. Amazing drinks, amazing people, amazingly fast.
Welcome back into the Coyote Volleyball Show presented by Scooters Coffee. We're visiting with head volleyball coach Leanne Williamson. The Coyotes set to wrap up the regular season at South Dakota State tomorrow night. Coach, it's finally here, the end of the regular season, and the Tuesday night match. I know you've had one of those already, and just the way these things flow together, but South Dakota State trying to finish on a high note itself as they get ready for the Summit League tournament, a big match in Brookings.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. I think it's crazy how fast this year has flown. I actually, even just looking at last week, Thursday, it feels like weeks ago at this point in time. But it's been a little bit of a whirlwind of a year, but the fact that we're here, we're working on finishing up, obviously, the regular season. I mean, it can't be much better than having to go up to Brookings here and playing in a tough environment, but it's such a great opportunity for us to work through that and use this one last opportunity to be the best team we can be going into the conference tournament.
Now, you know how that match went when it was here in Vermilion. They won the first two. Your team was able to reverse sweep them. Yep. So you kind of just come to expect those kind of matchups between South Dakota and South Dakota State.
Yeah, and that's what's fun about it. I mean, I think you can always expect a high-level volleyball match and a lot of back and forth. And, one of the things we talk to our team about is be okay with the ebbs and the flows of the match. And that's going to happen in a rivalry game. And obviously, we're going to do our best to minimize some of those that don't go our way, obviously. But we expect a battle. We expect a tough environment to play in. But what a great way to wrap up the regular season.
What do you feel like you need to see different from that first matchup to this one for your team?
We have to defend the outside. Early on in that match, I mean, their outsides had a too large of amount of kills in the first two sets, and I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was way too high. So we got better at it as the match went on, but I actually think that's an area that our team has gotten better at over the last few weeks of defending the outside at a high level, because a lot of time, throughout our league, I mean, every team has one, if not two, very good outsides. So it's the amount of balls they get, the amount of times that they're attacking the ball over the net is a pretty high number. So we have to defend that at a higher level. If we can do that, I feel really good about where we're at matchup-wise, but that is probably one of the biggest things that we have to do well.
I know your goal is 1-0. You're not looking too far ahead.
Correct.
But there are seed implications in something like this with the logjam that is the Summit League volleyball standings. We've been talking about this the last couple of weeks. It is jam-packed there at the top of the standings.
Yeah, and at one point in time in the season, we had talked about the fact that we couldn't fully control our own destiny. For us, we had to rely on some other people, winning or losing some matches along the way. But we're right where we want to be, playing for a conference championship, still a regular season conference championship. And I think that feels really good, and it's exciting. And I think it's going to give us hopefully that little bit of an extra edge going into tomorrow. But beyond that, we want to be playing our best volleyball going into the conference tournament. So it's just that one last opportunity to really prepare before it's that, that one and could be done mentality, right? And so I think it's a great chance for us to hone up some skills just a little bit and really work on playing Coyote volleyball at a high level, and having to do it on the road is a great chance for us to be challenged in that way too.
We always want our fans to show up when we're hosting the Summit League tournament, but boy, it feels like this year's tournament, you're going to want to be at every single match this year.
Yeah, and honestly, 2 years ago when we hosted it, it was similar. Not quite the log jam that it is right now, but the matches here were incredible. I even found myself watching that first round just going, what is going on? It was such a high-level volleyball game, a lot of back and forth, and I would expect nothing different going into this year, if not even more so than what it was a couple years ago when we hosted. So I do think having home court advantage could be a big opportunity for us. So I hope our fans are able to come out and cheer us on when we do get to that point. But right now I want everyone tuning in to be able to watch us tomorrow.
All right, well, we'll look forward to it. Coach, have a great week. Good luck this week as you wrap up the regular season.
Thank you.
That's Leanne Williamson, the head volleyball coach at South Dakota. And that wraps up the Coyote Volleyball Show, presented by Scooters Coffee.
The Coyote Volleyball Show is brought to you by Scooters Coffee. Scooters Coffee. Amazing drinks, amazing people, amazingly fast.